Hi kids, Reverend James here with Children's Time. Today we're celebrating a very special festival in the church called Pentecost, which is kind of a fancy word for 50 days. So 50 days ago today we celebrated Easter, the day Jesus rose from the dead, and hopefully we got to celebrate with some chocolate, maybe Easter eggs or a chocolate bunny. And today, 50 days after, we remember that Jesus promised his disciples that he would be with them always. And he's with us through the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is all around us, within one another. And I wanted to share with you a story about the Holy Spirit and what it's like to have God all around us and within us. It's a story about an island just off the coast of Scotland. Scotland is a country across the Atlantic Ocean. Maybe some of your relatives are originally from Scotland. They play bagpipes and they eat haggis and they kind of talk funny. No offense to any Scottish people. But it's a really cool story. There was no pictures with it, so I added my own, and I hope you like it. And so it was another windy day on the west coast of Scotland, amongst the many islands that create the Upper and Lower Hebridean Archipelago.
A 37-mile-per-hour southwesterly wind can be expected with gusts of up to 52 miles per hour,
said the weather forecaster after the breakfast news. And so the strong, gusty, blowing wind would make its presence felt on another stormy day off the exposed Atlantic coast. Jessie, a local housekeeper, was hoping to put out a big wash of all the bedding today to dry. But that was inadvisable as it would likely blow off the line, multicolored pegs pinging off and flying all over the place. Brian, one of the local fishermen, isn't sure that he'll get his traps out as he'd hoped. The water and the waves are just too choppy and rough, rocking his boat too vigorously from side to side. It's not the first time, nor will it be the last. And Mrs. Thompson, the local teacher, well, she had hoped to take all 8 students from the small village school to one of the many beaches in the area for a project about the different varieties of seashells. But, my goodness, the wind is so strong, the smallest children would be blown off their feet. Oh well, it looks like there will be better days for that some other time. Dave, the skipper of the ferry, can't risk a trip over the sea, even though Steve, a local farmer, is desperate to get his milk to market, already having, early in the day, milked all 60 of his beautiful black and white cows. But the wee red, white, and black community boat that takes everyone and everything back and forth and back, from island to mainland, just can't be put at risk. Nor, more importantly, must the passengers' lives be put in danger. For the majority of folks, that's all okay. It's just the way it is. As John's Gospel tells us, read for centuries as it has been through these Celtic lands, the wind blows wherever it pleases. And so, the hard-working islanders are quite philosophical about such matters. They know the gusts will die down again soon, and the storm will pass. As much as the wind has put a stop to the washing and the ferry and the school trip and the fishing, the wind farm is doing great. It's a busy day for Arthur, one of the engineers who maintains the 212-foot-high turbines with their 116-foot-long blades now quickly turning and turning and turning and turning to power modern life in the way islanders would have never dreamed in generations past. And Sheila, a local artist, just loves the dramatic rows of white horses riding their way into the shore across mile after mile of life-filled salt water, some crashing with enormous force on the rocks that seem older than time itself. So it will be a busy day for her, with paints and brushes and canvas. Our 37 mile per hour southwesterly with up to 52 mile per hour gusts has both started and stopped different activities here in the wild west coast of Scotland, just as the wind of God's Spirit starts and stops God's people in different ways all over the world. Denise, a shy girl in England, felt the Spirit whisper with a soft breath, "Go, go and speak to Louise, a new girl in class who has just moved." Jarmo, a young lad from Finland who wasn't very good at reading, sensed the soft, hushed voice of God's Spirit telling him to just try his best in reading his Bible. Valentina in Brazil too was tempted to call one of her classmates horrible names and to make fun of them in front of others. Thankfully, she listened to the loving Spirit of God, reminding her of Jesus' teachings to love one another and to be kind. And Bandile in South Africa, when he thought he'd just cheat on an exam, the wind of God's Spirit blew to him in such a way as to stop him doing wrong, be honest in the answers he gave. The wind of God's Spirit blows wherever she pleases. Listen for that gentle breath and mighty wind as she both stops and starts many of our activities for the good of all.
I really like this story for a couple of reasons. First, it shows how often in our lives things don't always go to plan. There's a saying that goes, "God hears our plans and laughs." What it means is that so often things happen in our lives that we've never expected. And there's so much that we don't have control over. Just like the situation we're in now. Just think of how much our lives have changed and been different over the past couple months in ways that we could have never expected. And so much of it we don't have control over. Where we do have control, where we do get to make choices, is how we react to something or someone. We can't control what other people say or do. We can't control the weather. We can't control a global pandemic. But we can choose how I'm going to behave. Like Mrs. Thompson had plans to take the kids to the beach, but couldn't because it was too windy. Maybe she was at first upset and disappointed, and that's okay. But there was nothing she could do about the wind. What she could do was choose another way to spend the day with the kids. So maybe I had plans to go fishing or for a bike ride and it was stormy out. I can't control the storm. But I can say, oh well, that'll have to wait for another time, and I'll find a way to have fun inside. Or so often someone might behave in a way that aggravates us or even hurts us. And we often want to react the same way with anger, frustration, and get them back. But the Holy Spirit asks us to think, well, even if so-and-so is going to misbehave, be mean, I'm going to try to be good and kind. I'm going to control what I can control and let go of what I can't. The other reason I like this story is because it reminds us that life isn't all about me. It's so easy to get caught up in our own lives, what matters to us, what I want, how I feel. And it's important to know that and look after ourselves. But there's a lot of people living their lives that have different perspectives and experiences than we do. And it's important to be respectful of other people, of how they feel and what they want. So maybe Steve, the dairy farmer, really wanted Dave, the ferry captain, to take the milk to the mainland. But Dave has to think of all the people, how all the people feel, and what's best to keep everyone safe. So if you take a deep breath and out, feeling that breath within us reminds us of what we're celebrating today at Pentecost, that God's Holy Spirit lives within us, and it reminds us that we are all special and loved and cherished by God. but also reminds us that all people are special and loved and cherished by God. And we're invited to live our lives in a way that makes us happy, but also so that we do what we can to help make other people happy too. So I wish you all a very happy Pentecost. I hope you have a great day today and take some time to have fun and celebrate God's Holy Spirit. Bye.